Captain Zeno left me a message last night. Said if I wanted to have any hope of talking to Stork, that I had to get down to the dock by 6 a.m. Otherwise I'd miss him. So I am up really early. I'm up earlier than I'd planned. Somebody knocked on my door. When I opened it, I found this. It's an infant's book. But it's a little bit peculiar. Let's play chase, calls Dan Dog. I'm too sleepy, says one tired frog. I'm pretty sleepy myself. Two birds say, sorry, we must fly. Three rabbits say, not today, bye-bye. And on the last page, but four kittens say, yes, we'll play. It's our turn to chase you today. And the U has been underlined, and the eyes on the dog have been crossed out. If it's a warning, it's the strangest warning I've ever received. Terry said that he got messages trying to get him to leave the island. They were more direct than this, though. I've only been here a short time. Maybe I have more overt threats to look forward to. Oh well. I can't really get too caught up in it now. I wanted to go over a few notes, make myself a few notes before I head to the dock. Zeno said it's called Bellows Jetty, and I'm sure it's named after William Bellows. So let's see where we stand. The Jessups. There's Harold. He's Monica's grandfather. He's dead. But he's the one who knew Henry. And then there's Grayson. Father. He's still alive. And he's got Monica's note. I'm gonna have to visit him, and I'm not looking forward to it. still don't know enough about her either. As far as who I've talked to so far, who I know about, I talked to Jeff, I talked to Terry, and I've talked to Kelly. So, Terry drove all the way to see me from North Carolina. He said he was tipped off by a coworker. And he claimed that Henry was being disingenuous. But how do I know he's not the one being disingenuous? I don't. He also said that Henry sent someone else to the island. Well, sent him to the island. Eight years ago. But he intimated that maybe there have been other people apart from him and myself. He got threats. They weren't quite as adorable as this threat. I mean, that's kind of silly. There's food on one page. So whoever left this, it's probably their kids. I don't think they went out and bought this just to leave it at my doorstep. That narrows things down a bit, but man, so strange. And there's the pilot, Jeff. Said there were lots of people leaving the island, very few people coming over. He's the only lifeline for passengers. That's quite a bottleneck. Unless you go by boat. But more interestingly than that, he told me that Monica went to Martin State. It's the same airport I flew out of. That was 1 week before she died. And maybe that's not significant, but it's certainly worth following up. And I found this on the plane. Now, I don't know that this was Monica's. Maybe it wasn't. But if it was, it could be really important. I mean, it's clearly a decorative key. It's not really high security there. But could definitely be useful. I wonder what Monica was doing in Maryland the week before she died. He also told me about her boyfriend, Russell Herring, I think she said. Said he was a deadbeat. And then there's Kelly Zeno. He was supposed to take me to the crime scene. Instead, he dismantled it. Found a marijuana pipe near the body. Although he thinks that belonged to the kid. The kid's name, is this right? Sean Hayward? Sure, I'll have to double check that. Of course, he told me about the note, but he wouldn't tell me what it said. I'm just gonna have to track down Grayson, ask him myself. First things first, I gotta go see Stork. From the stories I've heard about him, I'm not really looking forward to that either. It's so early, I'd rather just climb back into bed. But that is not what Henry is paying me for, so. It's almost 6 now. I should get going.
Reading not your forte, Pilgrim? Didn't you see the sign on the dock? It's not gonna stop you, though, is it? Come to clear the waters, to shine the dispassionate light of truth on all the dirty little secrets squirreled away on our little cay. Tell me something. Would you say you're more of a Woodward or a Bernstein? Folks around here call me Stork. It's a staggeringly creative name somebody came up with shortly after I lost my left leg in a whaling accident. Ahab never occurred to them. I would have preferred that. It was Stork. Say what you see, boys, am I right? I knew you'd be dropping by. I'm not completely isolated from current events. I don't much like most of what I see or hear these days. But you have to admit, at least it's been interesting. My senses aren't what they were when I was your age, but I've come to recognize that for the blessing that it is. The older you get, the easier it becomes to see through the toothy, grinned veneers straight to the rotting yak manure fermenting just beneath the surface. So I'm glad I can't hear like I used to. I'm glad I can't see like I used to. Christ, I'm glad I can't think like I used to. Some people, usually while engaging in endless egocentric nostalgia trips about how things could have been, if only, they say stuff like, "Oh, I wish I knew back then what I know now." Well, in my not so humble opinion, those people are blithering idiots. The truth, the cold, unwavering truth, is that if people had the wisdom they get from age, coexisting simultaneously with the sharpness and clarity of thought that they had in their youth, if they had both those things kicking around in their 2 pounds and change of gray cells at the same time, if that happened, I think the global suicide rate would launch straight through the roof, reach escape velocity in a matter of seconds, and wouldn't so much as waste a glance back over its shoulder as the Earth receded to a speck of light, indiscernible from a billion other equally inconsequential specks of light. But it's not the way it panned out. Luckily for us, by the time we learn enough to know our dreams and ideals, do little more than help fertilize manicured rows of shrubberies, aligning the labyrinthine walks of morally corrupt bankers' Italian vacation villas. By the time that happens, we're already so inured and numb to the injustice that it does little more than make us cranky. You'll be cranky too. I guarantee it. Just give it a little time, Pilgrim. What? Why do I call you Pilgrim? You do know what the word means, right? Perhaps you'd best look it up. I doubt you're actually familiar with the formal definition of the word. You're here looking for something important to you. You're an outsider, likely to face resistance. You are a pilgrim in the true sense of the word. It's a term quite a few locals use for anybody coming here with an agenda that goes beyond fishing or laying out at the beach. Why don't we get things back on track? Titles and semantics have very little to do with your immediate task. Although, let me tell you right now, and mark my words here, history does. You'd like me to tell you everything I know about the Jessup murder. Seems simple enough, but there's a problem that makes this a little stickier than a simple transfer of information. You don't have the context I do for events that happen on this cursed, benighted tip of an island. And I don't have the time, and neither do you, to make you an expert. I got an old TV on board. Saw this program about the history of Pioneer's Lash the other night. They got a bunch wrong, like they always do. God knows nobody spoke to me about anything. But a fair amount of it was right. If you want to understand what happened to Monica and why, that wouldn't be a bad place to start. Truth be told, I'm kind of curious what you've managed to figure out so far. You've been here a couple of days now, right? Tell me, what'd you make of the crime scene? Excuse me? Did I hear you right? You haven't been to the crime scene? Why on earth is that? So let me get this straight. You came over here to investigate a murder, and somehow the local police captain managed to convince you it wasn't worth your time to visit the scene of the crime. Maybe I judged you right after all. But there's an insult, in case you didn't notice. I tell you. Look, if you can be so easily dissuaded from doing what you need to do, if that's all it takes to redirect your efforts, you're never going to get to the bottom of this. I mean, this is murder 101 here. You have to visit the crime scene. I can't believe I'm telling you this. I don't care. I don't care how many damn pictures anybody gave you. Consider the source. Always consider the source. Let me ask you this. Do you think our esteemed Captain Zeno actually wants you around? Do you really think he wants an interloper making headway on a murder that he has nary a lead on? It'd make him look pretty bad, don't you think? Almost incompetent, which isn't that far from the truth. In fact, the only reason he's talking to you at all is as a favor to your boss. He'd rather you pack up and leave tonight. Hell, almost everybody on this island would rather you pack up and leave tonight. I'm not even sure where I stand on the matter. Your capacity for inquiry has itself been called into question, I'm afraid to say. I'm not going to tell you why Zeno's indebted to your boss. Ask him yourself. Your boss, I mean. Don't ask Zeno. Or don't. I don't give a whit. You know what, though? That's not true. I do give a whit. Precisely one whit. You might be nearly as incompetent as Zeno himself. I guess that still remains to be seen, although early indicators are not promising. But I, for one, want this murder solved. So I'm just going to give you this one. No charge. It's the kind of guy I am. Zeno is humoring you because when our former police captain, I don't even remember his name, got caught on tape in the very same motel you're staying in for accepting a bribe from the mayor of Nantucket, Frank printed the whole slanderous story in the Poolsville Tribune. Names were not withheld. Quite a piece. The Nantucket Mirror didn't print a word. Times didn't print a word. No other paper touched it. Because they were all doing the prudent thing. What journalists do. They were waiting for confirmation. The charges were dropped for some reason or another. I don't remember that either. I'm sure it was just one more case of politics trumping ethics. Another one of those billion indiscernible points of light. But once the story broke, the damage was done. You know, a change had to be made, drop charges or not. It was symbolic. Bottom line is, if the Poolsville Tribune didn't kick up so much dust on the matter, Zeno might not be captain right now. He'd probably still be a beat cop, which is actually a mite better than he deserves, in my estimation. So Zeno owes Frank. Or I should say he owed Frank. He probably considers his little visit to you made them both square. But either way, make no mistake, in spite of his seemingly cooperative manner, Zeno wants you gone. Damn flies. I'll tell you something else about our esteemed captain. He really lives up to his name. Are you familiar with pre-Socratic philosophy? Are you familiar with Socratic philosophy? Are you... You can read, right? Okay. That's a relief. Well, reader, maybe you should read up on the arrow paradox. See, there's a school of thought that maintains that motion is an illusion. That in any given instant, a projectile is neither headed where it is aimed, nor en route from its point of origin. That it is static, unmoving. And that it follows from that motion is merely a perception that we imbue, and not an objective truth. Makes good sense when you think about it, don't you think? Of course it doesn't. It's a damn thought experiment. People who take stuff like that literally may as well believe in fairies. It's just the other end of the same warped spectrum, representing the false dichotomies of perception. Motion doesn't exist. Jeez. I'm trying to tell you something here, but I don't think it's getting through. Hope your skin's as thick as your head. Let me be more direct. Did Zeno give you one single piece of usable information during your talk? Or did he just talk in circles? I'm gonna assume from your rather stunned silence that it's dawning on you that he didn't really tell you a damn thing. Maybe he's not as dumb as I thought. It's a neat trick. Talking, saying individual words and phrases that mean things, and yet not conveying a lick of information as a whole. You got to have some base level of intelligence to pull that off effectively. Of course, just like it's important to consider the source, it's important to consider the target as well. And in this case, well, let's just say the target needs the whetstone more than the arrowhead. I'm sorry if that gives offense, but you've yet to conduct yourself in an impressive manner. You've got to admit that much. You know, got me a little worried is all you've done so far. It's a shame, too, because guess what? I can say with a fair degree of confidence, let's say 85% to be conservative, that I know what happened to Monica Jessup on the night of May 12th. I probably have a few of the minor details wrong, but the important stuff, pretty sure I've got that all sussed out. Of course, I'm not just going to tell you what I think. Not sure you'd know what to do with the information anyway. But it's a bit of a conundrum because I do want this murder solved. It's a right pickle. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do you two better than our friend Captain Zeno. I'm going to give you two directly useful things. first thing is this right here. It's a map. That's right. You don't miss much, do you? Probably recognize it. Council printed hundreds of these things and sprinkled them wherever they could to try and attract tourists, which didn't work. But this map is my map, and it has something those other maps don't have. See these little X's? They aren't the locations of buried treasure. Not exactly. I made these marks when I was doing my own poking around. And at each one of them, I found there was something significant that, when I put the pieces together, brought me to the set of beliefs I currently hold regarding the night of May 12th. If you go to these same places, and if you have a keen eye, maybe you'll come to the same conclusions I did. And the second thing is just a little nudge, a little piece of information to get your brain churning. Call it a Kickstarter. Did you know Monica had a brother? She did. You might want to ask somebody close to the family about him. Somebody who knew them both when they were younger, maybe. And that's all I got for you. You've learned all you can from me, Padawan. Now get going. Go forth and make a greater effort to astound me with your acumen. You can have this. You know, I'm not just being stubborn by making you take the long way around. You may think I am, but luckily for the rest of the world, your judgment is not the final word on what is real and what is imagined. Now, you really need to connect the dots for yourself. It's a trope, I know that. But it has merit, because humanity does not change. How long has some variation on the saying, "If I knew then what I know now," existed? And yet we never learn. And it's not because we're stupid. It's because some things can't be learned. They just have to be experienced. And besides, you're a writer, aren't you? You're a journalist with a capital J. As such, don't you prefer to procure your information firsthand? Even if I told you what I know and you did believe me, regurgitating my story word for word would make you no more than a middleman, a ghostwriter. And we've already got enough ghosts on this here island, wouldn't you agree?
Well, that was an interesting excursion. I don't know if I trust Stork. I shouldn't trust anybody. That's the only thing I can trust, is not to trust anybody. But he was right about one thing. It's very peculiar. That Captain Zeno would dismantle a murder scene so quickly. Just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Either he's trying to cover something up, or he's a mediocre detective who doesn't want to put in any overtime and just wants this murder to go away, to fade from public consciousness as quickly as possible. That certainly seems more likely. And I've run into that kind of viciousness before. But, like I said, can't trust anybody. Where's that map that Stork gave me? It's around here somewhere. Well, it does look a lot like the map from the pamphlets. You know, more or less identical, just bigger, dirtier, and has those X's Stork made. So, the island appears to be broken up into 4 regions. There's Privateer's Vale to the east, South Snap Shoals to the southeast, Mangrove Flats to the south, and North Hook to the, well, to the north, of course. Kind of looks like a crab's claw. And almost looks like the body of a crab. I don't know why the cartographer chose to put this symbol of an octopus here, southwest corner. So I know there's places I need to check out that I already planned to check out. And now it looks like I need to add 4 more places to my list. Let's take a look at the points of interest that are here. Right over the octopus. Pioneer's Lash, 1682, Lionel Forrester, Esquire. Established 1679. That's in line with the dates they quoted on that Hidden Retreats show. So there doesn't seem to be a whole lot on the eastern side of the island. There is one of those X's. And there's Sloop Cove, which looks like, I mean, it was a fort, apparently. I don't know what it is now. There's a Cygnus Lighthouse. Deckhands Outpost. Pumpkin Rot Pond. There's an X there. It's gotta be the murder scene. Port of Montaigne, which is where I am right now. The Flamingo is on the eastern side of the port, which is larger here. This protrusion, Smiler's Watch. Significance of that name, the watch is pretty self-evident. But Smiler, I don't know. Maybe it's a proper name. Breach Bay. This is where, oh yeah. This is where they would drive pods of whales and trap them. And they beach themselves. They just pick them off. And there's an X there too. Black Glass Beach. Fisherman's Thumb. Looks like a thumb, I guess. And Enid's Bluff. There weren't supposed to be any bluffs on this island. There are, at least a couple. And there's an X. So my next planned move was to drop by St. Sentience Hospital unannounced. It's getting close to noon. I was hoping to catch Dr. Prince on his lunch break. Have a chat with him. And I know that the hospital is somewhere right around here. I'll have to ask at the front desk exactly. But if that's the case, then maybe I can go straight from the hospital up to Enid's Bluff. Where's my compass? 5 miles to Enid's Bluff. And this X in Privateer's Vale is about a half mile off the main road. Off any road, looks like this, where those TNT bunkers are supposed to be. Maybe it is a TNT bunker. Maybe it's nothing. There's only one way to find out. Yeah. That sounds like a good plan. I'll go to the hospital, hit Enid's Bluff, and reassess. After that, I should get moving. I don't want to miss Dr. Prince's lunch break. No cell phone signal here. No GPS. That means I'm taking this map with me. I don't know how much good it'll do me, but it's better than nothing. All right, let's go. Can I help you? Yes, I know who you are. Jeff, the pilot, told me that you were investigating the Jessup murder. I figured you'd get around to me sooner or later. I'm Dr. Edward Prince. I work here at St. Sentience, obviously. You caught me on my lunch break. But why don't we talk first and we'll eat. I know it's a little weird, a little odd, eating lunch in a morgue. But I spend most of my time upstairs, and
As I'm sure you saw when you were up there, it's always busy, hectic, really loud a lot of the time. I find this to be a pleasant respite from the hubbub that goes on upstairs. So it's quiet, it's cold, and that's good enough for me. So, and I've been around enough dead bodies that it doesn't really faze me to eat lunch around them. In a perfect world, I could have my haven without corpses around me, but you have to play the cards you dealt. So, but anyway, enough about my dining habits. You have a reason for being here. I presume you'd like me to just tell you what I know about the Jessup murder. I'm sorry, I should say the Jessup death. Oh no, I believe it was murder, yeah. But my expertise does not extend to that field, so it would be foolhardy of me to stick my neck out and just say murder. I should just be careful, is what I'm saying. So I can start at the beginning. My shift began at midnight. I was doing the midnight to noon shift, which I can't stand. Because when the sun comes up at around 6:30, you feel like something should change then, that your shift is over. But it's not. That's when you take your lunch, or breakfast, as it were. And those last 4 or 5 hours go by really slowly. But anyway, yeah, so I was on the midnight to noon shift, and they brought her in. They brought Monica, the deceased, in to the hospital around 4 a.m. And she was DOA. She had been dead for some time. We estimated the time of death between 12 and 2, probably closer to 2, based on body temperature. The cause of death was really grossly apparent. Strangulation. It was a slightly odd pattern. I couldn't tell what was used to strangle her. It seemed to be rope. There were some fibers in the neck that indicated rope. But the person must have been very strong. The ligature marks were very deep and pronounced. The only solace I can take from that is that she died. She went unconscious and then died quickly. And she was 25 years old. You probably know the basics. 25 years old. Her father lives on the island. Unfortunately, that night was not the first time I had seen Monica. She had been in the ER about 4 months prior to her death. She came in one night. I don't remember the time. I can get you the records if you like. But she came in one night bruises on the right side of her face, her eye, fractured left arm, hairline fracture, but still a fracture. Her boyfriend brought her in. I know his name begins with an R, but I don't know his name. I have enough experience in the ER to know a domestic abuse case when I see it, and that's what this was. I believe. There I am going out on a limb, but I'm not really going out on a limb because that is my area of expertise. I've seen that a lot, and I have other reasons to believe that, and I'll happily show you in a moment. But it's strange. In cases of domestic abuse, especially those that come to the ER that are lucky enough to be alive, typically the abused is accompanied by the abuser, which you might think the abuser would want to distance himself, I'm not even going to bother saying or herself there, himself from the abused as much as possible. But generally they come together, and generally the abuser is very sorry and will never do it again. I don't know who killed Monica, but I certainly have my suspicions. Anyway, I have some notes in my notebook in my bag. Let me get them because I want to be sure I'm not getting any details wrong. And if you have any questions, please fire away. One moment. Away. It feels. Give me a moment here. Yeah, I take notes the old-fashioned way. My father was a doctor. He did the same thing, so I just kind of got used to it. And I get poked fun at for not moving with the times, but this is just the way I prefer it. Of course, had this all been digital, I would have found it by now. So there was one thing, I'll show you. She had a tattoo. It was on her, sort of like this area right here. It was weird, I sketched it. It's not a perfect sketch, but it's sort of like a half anchor with a hook coming out of the side, and the anchor's hooked as well. I don't really know what it means. I don't know if it has any significance at all. But I do remember that struck me when I sketched that. Okay. So yeah, 4:27 a.m. She arrived. She was DOA. had been dead for several hours, probably died between 12 and 2, as I mentioned. This is everything that I've already told you. Deep ligature marks, strangulation was the cause of death, 25 years old. I wrote up and signed and dated the death certificate, which I thought was a little bit odd, to tell you the truth. Usually when anything big happens here, Nantucket steps in. So I was surprised that we didn't get somebody from Nantucket General, or even, someone from the mainland, over here, to sort of take over that part of the investigation. Another odd thing is that the police officer in charge of this investigation here never spoke to me. Kelly Zeno never interviewed me. I actually called him 2 days ago because I wanted to give him something, but I haven't heard back from him. I'll happily show you what I was going to give him. I mean, I'm still going to give it to him, but I'll happily show it to you because, I don't know, guy's not giving me the time of day. But it is the reason why I believe. Let me just show you. So I mentioned to you that Monica had come to the hospital 4 months ago, and we treated her. We released her the same evening. I found this in the tucked, like just beneath the mattress of the bed that she was in. This is help. And on the inside it says, R, with a little period, R did this to me, and he's done it before. So, that's how I remember her boyfriend's name started with R, but I don't remember his name. I'm sure anyone could tell you. Kelly could tell you. But, to me that's fairly damning. People don't abuse their significant others once. It just doesn't happen. No matter what. If they quit drinking, whatever it is, it happens again. It's just a matter of time. And I've seen plenty of deaths. So, if I were you, I would try and find out who her boyfriend was. Maybe you already know. You already know. Oh, yeah, Russell. That's right. Yeah. Well, you should probably talk to Russell. So yeah, there were a few other odd things about the case. The primary one is I just don't understand why the captain never spoke to me. I would think I would have been, first on his list. But apparently I didn't make his list. And he hasn't answered my calls. The other thing was, in a case of this magnitude, Nantucket should have intervened. I shouldn't have been the one to write up that death certificate. it's not even my specialty. It's not even my primary focus. But you know, I was the only one here. So those things were odd. The sheer depth of the ligature marks was remarkable. I've never seen anything like that. And the tattoo, although I don't know if that's related in any way, you know, it looked fairly fresh. It didn't look like she got it within the past within a week of her death, but within a month of her death, probably. I don't believe she had it when she was here 4 months ago. So yeah, that's it. Do you have any questions for me? Well, I mean, I appreciate it. I'd love it if you found the killer. It's just more reason for me to get off this island. You know, I've wanted to get away from here for a long time, and been sort of planning it, and you know, I'll be here for a while still, I'm sure, but when this all clears, I'm going back to the mainland. Yeah, this island life is not for me. I've been here 5 years, and I still don't feel like I'm home. I eat lunch by myself in a morgue, for Christ's sake. So, you know, I appreciate if you'd let me know what you find out, or if you have any other questions, if anything else comes up. If you have any questions you need medical expertise to answer, I would be more than happy to help. I'm always here. I'm probably here 60 hours a week, so your best bet to find me is to just come here. And like I said, you know, I'll be happy to help. Good luck. After leaving the hospital, I headed up to Enid's Bluff. The road ran out. I had to cover a lot of the ground on foot. Most of the afternoon. I didn't find anything. I was on the verge of giving up for the day when I saw a small clearing. And I found something. I don't know what its significance is, but I have a strong feeling that it is significant. The only thing left for me to do now is to figure out how